There was a ton of concern surrounding the Miami Heat and whether or not their offense was going to translate well to a playoff setting. There was this impression that they were predominantly reliant on their transition offense and that their half-court offense could tend to go stagnant and consistently struggle to put points on the board. Now, despite this misconception, the Miami Heat have actually been the 4th best half-court offense in the NBA during these playoffs, recording 1.01 points per possession in half-court offensive sets. Jimmy Butler is playing a significant role operating as the primary playmaker, with Kyle Lowry kind of struggling and being in and out of the lineup. He's recording a really solid 5.6 assists per game so far throughout the playoffs. Let's look at some plays to see how Jimmy Butler is helping create these opportunities in the half court for the Miami Heat. Here, Butler and Bam are going to initiate a pick and roll, and Bam is going to roll with Maxey fighting over the screen and DeAndre Jordan playing in drop coverage. Jimmy just completely keeps the defense entirely focused on him before he ultimately dumps it off to Bam, who's able to throw down the easy dunk. Now, it's more than just pick and rolls. Butler is also actively playmaking on the fly. On this play, Strus is going to come to set a screen, and he's going to get a switch onto Maxey. Gabe Vincent is going to come up for a handoff, and Butler is going to angle his body to get Maxey behind him to create some space for Vincent, and then Butler immediately sets a screen for Vincent to get an open three-pointer off of the handoff. Here, he does some really cool manipulation of the defense. He comes off of Bam's screen, and he's going to go up like he's planning on bailing out, but he feigns the pass to Vincent and Strus by looking in their direction and pump faking midair before he actually sends it to PJ Tucker in the corner for a wide open three. This playmaking isn't the only area where Jimmy has elevated his game in contrast between the regular season and the playoffs. His scoring has elevated to an entirely different level, and I make the argument that he's playing the best basketball of his entire career from an offensive perspective. I'd even go as far as saying that there's an argument to be made that Jimmy Butler is the best player of the postseason so far. Right now, he's scoring the 4th most points per game of any player in the playoffs, and he's doing it with a really high level of efficiency. But one thing in particular that I want to point out is his three-point shooting so far throughout the playoffs. As it stands right now at the time of this recording, he's hit 14 of his 38 shots from beyond the arc in the postseason this year. For some context, he shot 23% from 3 during the regular season. Now, I know it's still a small sample size, but during the playoffs, you can only worry about sample size so much. If he's making the shots, then he's making the shots. But as far as his scoring on the interior goes, he's been one of the best scorers in the paint in the entire NBA. He currently has a higher field goal percentage in the paint than Luka Doncic, DeAndre Ayton, Ja Morant, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Jason Tatum. He's outscoring some of the league's best scorers while doing it at a higher efficiency than some of the league's best finishers. His spectacular play, though, has been complemented by Bam Adebayo, who's been playing a massive role for the Heat offense, even if it isn't always visibly apparent in the box score. His screening is an integral part of their offensive scheme, and it opens up a lot of opportunities for their shooters. He's currently 2nd in screen assists per game of any player still remaining in the playoffs, and his playmaking out of the high post has really had the opportunity to shine against the 76ers. We can see some of that on display here. He's going to get the ball towards the top of the key, and he's immediately going to initiate this handoff for Herro. And with Thybulle trying to fight over his screen and Embiid in drop coverage, his screen allows Herro to dribble right into an open mid-range shot. I like this play a lot. Butler is going to pitch it out to him, and Harden is going to make a move towards Oladipo, but as he does this, Butler is going to make a backdoor cut, and Adebayo just threads the needle perfectly for Butler to convert on the opportunity. But this play here should really show just how intelligent of a playmaker and decision maker he is. He draws the attention of both Green and Maxey, leaving Vincent for him to get the ball to, and Vincent is going to make the extra pass. Now, the 76ers are going to try and trap Butler in the corner, which leaves 3 defenders on the strong side and only 2 defenders covering the 3 Heat players on the weak side. Bam is going to get the entry pass from Butler, and knowing the lack of defense on the other side of the court, Adebayo is immediately going to sling it to Strus for an easy 3. Now, Bam is more than just a defender and post-scoring rim-running big. Yeah, 2.7 assists doesn't sound like a lot, and it's really easy to write off something like this, but his playmaking really is a vital part of what makes their offense tick. There's so much to talk about with their offense, but the last player that I really want to highlight is Max Strus. He's playing a really major role for them, and while his numbers at a glance aren't really anything spectacular, he's much more impactful of a player than you'd expect an undrafted guy to be. He's playing a pseudo Klay Thompson role, filling the void that Duncan Robinson would typically be playing, but with better defense. He actually recorded 20 points and 11 rebounds in their closeout game against the 76ers, and the best part is they've got him on contract through next year at a steal of only $1.8 million. Now, let's switch over to the other side of the ball and look at their defense, because that's one of the big things that everyone likes to talk about with the Miami Heat. One adjustment that they made in this game was putting more emphasis on fighting over screens and overall just not switching as much. The advantage of taking this approach on defense is the fact that 1, it simplifies the defense significantly, and then 2, you're not going to have to worry about mismatches, which is something that a player like Joel Embiid is really good at taking advantage of. This play is a great example. Tobias Harris is going to initiate the pick and roll, and Strus goes ahead and fights over it, which allows Bam to shut off the driving lane. Harris is ultimately forced to pick up his dribble, and at this point, Bam is able to recover from drop coverage and contest Embiid's three-pointer. Now, another advantage can be seen here. With Jimmy staying with Maxey, you can see that they're going to shade him into Gabe Vincent, creating this three-man defensive trap while simultaneously eliminating the passing lane to Embiid on the short roll. And while Maxey does get a decent look at the rim, he ultimately misses it, allowing the Heat to clean up the possession. They did the same sort of thing here. PJ Tucker fights over the screen, and by the time that Embiid starts to roll, Harden is dealing with 3 defenders creating problems for him. With the roll opportunity eliminated, he gets it to Embiid, who still has to deal with Adebayo because they didn't switch in the first place. Embiid then drives, and Tucker is going to come in and get a quick block. There's this lineup that they've been running that has been really good, and I haven't seen it get much recognition, but the lineup of Jimmy Butler, Max Strus, Gabe Vincent, PJ Tucker, and Bam Adebayo has an offensive rating of 124.8, a defensive rating of 98, and a whopping net rating of 26.9. The next best 5-man lineup in the NBA only has a net rating of 13. They're not just playing great defense, they're playing great offense as well, and the result is absolutely devastating for the best offense, best defense, and best net rating in the NBA in the playoffs. This so-called death lineup held Philly to 36.4% from the field, 23.5% from 3 in Game 6. Over 52 total possessions in Game 6, Philly scored only 0.69 points per possession. Now, this spawns the universal question that everyone is going to ask when a great team beats a team that maybe is dealing with injuries or might not be as good as people thought. The question is Miami really good, or is Philly just bad? The signs are there, though, that Miami has a strong foundation to continue this level of dominance. They have an airtight and flexible defense and an offense that can clearly put points on the board. They have an old, reliable death lineup that they can rely on, but they still have depth that they can lean on to switch things up if it becomes necessary to do so. Erik Spoelstra has proven time and time again that he is by far one of, if not the best coach in the entire NBA, and he's extracting every tiny bit of value that he possibly can from every single player on this roster. It's even crazier too when you consider the fact that the Heat haven't been getting those Tyler Herro performances that we've come to know him for in the postseason, and I expect he's liable to get on a hot streak very soon, which will make them even more lethal than they already are. So all of the concerns that people had, including me, about the Miami Heat, so far should be put to rest. If you guys enjoyed this video, please consider hitting that subscribe button and leaving a like. It's the best way to support me, and it allows me to continue putting out content on a regular basis. Either way, I really appreciate you watching if you've made it this far, and I'll see you guys in the next one.